All right, my beautiful people, thanks so much for tuning in to ERGJ TV. This is ERGJ, and we are getting into the propaganda machine today. And we're going to be talking about the Olympic-sized propaganda that's going on in Brazil. So, of course, as always, I want to start by letting you guys know, if you're new to the channel, that in 2012, the United States government, through the National Defense Authorization Act, passed a law that made the use of propaganda against Americans legal. In other words, it's legal for the government to lie to foreign audiences and domestic. So the U.S. government has unbound legal regulations of using propaganda against foreign audiences and American citizens. The intention is to sway public opinion. The intention is to sway public opinion by using television, radio, newspapers, and social media targeting the American informed people and controlled Psyops. Now, this law was passed in 2012 and 2013. Again, it's just basically saying that it's legal to be lied to by the United States government, and the way that they do this is by using all of your big corporations, your big national media outlets, the CNNs, the Fox News, CBS, ABC, to push forth a message or a story, a news story, to sway public opinion. And it also lets us know that they will actually use controlled psyops. Controlled psyops just means that a psychological operation, controlled is staged or scripted. So basically using staged or scripted psychological operations to mess with our mind. I like to call it real life Hollyweird. Just like in a Hollywood movie, you have a script. You have the same thing in real life to sway public opinion, so you can believe whatever narrative that's being pushed forth. So we're going to be talking about Rio De Janeiro. So I wanted to come to CNN. I'm actually going to do this from the Reuters website, but CNN just basically gives you a whole bunch of fear, right? So right here we have police terror. Suspects arrested. That's what we're going to be talking about today. The 10 arrested. Then connected to Rio, which is the Olympics, which starts in August 5th, in 2 weeks. The Russian loses their doping appeal. Meet one Russian who is going to Rio. And will Rio Games be worst ever? Look at these headlines. Will the Rio Games be the worst ever? So let's get into this story, guys. Where Brazil arrests amateur group accused of Olympic terror plot. Brazil arrests an amateur group accused of Olympics terror plot. Now, this headline itself, I mean, think about it. This came out at 5:30 today, about 15 minutes ago. They arrested some people who are amateurs, amateur group, accused of an Olympics terror plot. I mean, do you know how ridiculous that sounds? you know how well organized you have to be in order to pull off an Olympic plot. So let's go through this story, guys. So Brazil arrested 10 people on Thursday suspected of belonging to a poorly organized group supporting Islamic State, or ISIS, and discussing acts of terrorism during next month's Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. So apparently they had some people that that support ISIS, and they have been talking about or having conversations about terrorism or acts of terrorism. The group, described as absolutely amateur by Justice Minister Alexander Moraes, were all Brazilian citizens and in contact via messaging apps such as WhatsApp and Telegram. So they're planning their attack, or their supposed attack, through WhatsApp and Telegram. They did not know each other personally, the minister said. All right, so the arrest came a week after a truck massacre in France. They're connecting the story to France, which we know that in Nice, France, on Bastille Day, we had a truck that reportedly killed 84 people. And amid growing fears on a possible attack on Olympic targets, when the first games to be held in South America kick off on August 5th. And so typically what we'll see, guys, in foreign terror, we'll see something connected to ISIS. So we'll always hear this word ISIS. And then they're going to connect the world events to world events. So they're connecting this story to the truck massacre that happened in France just last week. We'll see in the domestic state that we'll have events happen more frequently because, if you're in America, you're more concerned about things that are going on in America, but it's important to have an idea of what's going on around the world. All right, so we know that the Olympic Games start August 5th. That's in 2 weeks. And they've already been talking about, is this going to be the worst games ever? They're terrorizing. So federal police are monitoring about 100 people for possible links to terrorist groups, mostly in the porous tri-border region with Paraguay and Argentina. A presidential aide said on Thursday requesting anonymity to speak freely. Brazilian police and intelligence services have been cooperating with French, German, British, Israeli, and U.S. intelligence agencies regarding the arrest, the aide said. Although Brazil has no history of conflict with known militant groups, Moraes said the games have made the Latin American country a more likely target. Look at this. Made the games a more likely target. What else is going on in Brazil? Zika supposedly is over there, and it may be spreading. So we had a lot of people from the NBA that pulled out, a lot of people in sports that pulled out of going to the Olympic Games because of fear of the Zika virus. Now, people don't know the Zika virus has been around since 1947, but it's more prominent now. It reminds me of last year's Ebola. All right, so particularly because of a participation by countries fighting ISIS. So today was the first operation against a supposed terrorist cell in Brazil. He said Brazil was not part of the coalition against ISIS, but because of the upcoming Olympics and because it will receive more foreigners, Brazil becomes part of the target. So listen to this. It's telling us Brazil becomes part of the target of ISIS. We have an amateur group who supposedly supports ISIS, and they've been talking about terrorism that they took down today. It was 10 guys that were taken down. Local Olympic Organizing Committee, Rio 2016, referred requests for comment to the federal government. Brazil has planned an extensive security detail during the Olympics. It will deploy about 85,000 soldiers, police, and other security personnel, more than twice as many in place for the London Olympics of 2012. Brazil is also coordinating closely with partner countries and will operate a joint security center where representatives from more than 100 countries are expected to help share intelligence and monitor the event. So allegiance is declared. Moraes said the individuals detained on Thursday were being monitored because they had accessed websites linked to ISIS. The group did not have direct contact with ISIS, though some members had made pro forma declarations of allegiance to the militant Islamic group via social media. The minister said he did not elaborate. Those involved participated in an online group denominated the Defenders of Sharia and were planning to acquire weapons to commit crimes in Brazil and even overseas, Moraes told the news conference. Now, here's a question I got, guys. It seems like they got all this intelligence on ISIS, and if so, it will make it seem like it would be much easier to take them down. I mean, you got the names, you got what they use, and all these people that are reaching out to them to become part of a militant group. It would make sense to me then that you have a lot more information about ISIS than you lead us to believe, and that it should be relatively easy to take them down if you have all this information on ISIS. I mean, how did they get so quickly to say, this is an ISIS-related event, or ISIS took responsibility for this? I mean, it seems like some communication going on between this militant ISIS group and the governments, not only just in the United States, but around the world. Now, the group had no preparation at all and was disorganized cell, he said, adding that authorities decided to intervene when the group started planning actions, including martial arts training and purchase of firearms. He said a member of the group had contacted a clandestine weapon site in neighboring Paraguay and sells AK-47 assault rifles, and there was no evidence they acquired any weapons. 2 people will be brought in for questioning in addition to the 10 already detained, he added. Interim President Michael Temer called an emergency cabinet meeting following the arrest, the first under Brazil's tough new anti-terrorism law approved this year. So look at this. They got an anti-terrorism law that just was approved this year. That's pretty interesting. And we can go on and read the rest of this here. So the minister said the group's leader was based in southern Brazilian city of Curitiba, with others spread across 9 Brazilian states. According to the state of Paraná, where Curitiba is based, said there are no indication that the group was planning to use weapons and guerrilla tactics to achieve this aim. Brazil's intelligence agency said on Tuesday it was investigating all threats to the Rio Olympics after a presumed Brazilian Islamic group pledged allegiance to ISIS. Site Intelligence Group, a U.S. company that monitors the internet, reported a previously unknown group calling itself Ansar for Brazil said on Telegram messaging app on Sunday that it followed ISIS leader Akbar and promoted ISIS propaganda in Arabic. It's unclear what relation those detained on Thursday may have with that group. On Wednesday, Site, which is a intelligence group, said alleged Islamist militants were giving advice for lone actors to carry out attacks during the games, including use of toy drones. The messages are being sent via mobile messaging system Telegram, the site said. And last week's attack on Nice, France, Brazilian authorities said they would set up security measures for the games by adding further roadblocks and cordons and frisking more visitors in Rio de Janeiro. So, guys, this is Olympic side propaganda. The whole intent is to have, induce fear as it relates to the Olympic Games that are coming up starting in 2 weeks. We know about the Zika virus that's spreading over there. They're ramping up security, but it's all about having everybody on edge. I mean, just from reading this article, guys, it seems like, look at this. They're talking about, another lone actors. Look at this, lone actors to carry out attacks during the games. Look at that word, lone actors. Not lone wolves, not lone, militant groups, lone actors. That tells me something there that we might be getting set up for a false flag event to happen at the games in Rio de Janeiro. Look at this, lone actors. Talks about ISIS. We know typically we'll see ISIS have one person go out supposedly and do some type of big type of demonstration where they're killing a lot of people. We just saw it in Nice, France. You had someone in the truck that took out 84 people. We may be getting set up here, guys, for another false flag to take place in Rio de Janeiro. It'll be obvious if they do it, so I don't think it'll really happen. But I think they're preparing people's minds for the threat of it happening with all of these, articles that come out. Because here's the deal. We're talking about an amateur group. They're saying that they were going to take martial, have some karate classes, and they were about to buy some guns. There's plenty of groups that are probably taking karate classes right now and buying some guns all over the place. So I really don't believe that this is true. Obviously, when I say this is not true, I believe they probably arrested some folks. But this story here just sounds very, very fishy. If you were going to plot an Olympic terror, it definitely wouldn't be an amateur group. It wouldn't be some kids that are just saying, hey, this is what we want to do. Here's what we're going to do. It would be some people that, you won't be able to catch them on the radar when they're preparing to attack, have some type of attack on the Olympics. So I do think that they're setting us up, though, to give us an angle for a false flag event to come down the pike once the Olympic Games get started. So we got to get through the next 2 weeks. We got to get through the Republican National Convention, the Democratic National Convention. Once those things die down, then I think it'll be time for us to get into the Olympic Games and to quite possibly be prepared for another false flag from our wonderful country that has now got that is now legal for them to lie to us. So just be on the lookout. When I see stories like this, again, the ISIS connection, it tells me it's going to probably be some lone actor or lone Muslim actor that's going forth in this false flag to bring more fear into the world and have not only just us fighting amongst ourselves, but fighting amongst other nations as well. So be on the lookout. So at any rate, this is the propaganda machine as we go over the events that are happening in Brazil. Again, terror suspects arrested. Will Rio Games be the worst ever? And that's the headline. They're setting us up to have the worst ever Olympic Games ever. So at any rate, this is ERGJ. Propaganda is used to sway public opinion. Do not live in fear. Fear no evil. And continue to seek truth, guys. And as you continue to seek truth, then just know that the truth shall set you free.